From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Friday, January the 10th, 2025. The IDF today confirmed that the body of Israeli hostage Hamza Ziadneh was also recovered from Gaza this week. As we reported to you earlier this week, the IDF recovered remains from a tunnel in the Rafah area of Gaza on Tuesday and were able to confirm then the identity of Hamza's father, Yusuf Ziadneh, and expressed grave concern for Hamza with reports that his body had also been found there. And the IDF said today that after completing the identification process by the National Institute of Forensic Medicine and the Israel Police, IDF representatives informed the Ziadneh family this morning that their son, abducted during the October 7th massacre, was killed in Hamas captivity. Father and son have now been laid to rest in Israel. Well, after yet another attack on Israel by the Houthis in Yemen last night, Israel's Air Force hit a number of Houthi targets in Yemen overnight. Earlier last night, 3 drones were launched at Israel aimed at Tel Aviv. They were intercepted by Israel's Air Force. There were no injuries. And then later last night, the IDF responded, saying following repeated UAV and surface-to-surface missile attacks against Israel, the IDF struck Houthi terrorist regime military targets on the western coast and inland Yemen. Among the targets, it said, were a power station, a central source of energy for the Houthis' terrorist regime, as well as 2 ports containing Houthi military infrastructure. The Houthi terrorist regime is a central part of the Iranian axis of terror, the IDF said, and their attacks on international shipping vessels and routes continue to destabilize the region and the wider world, vowing the IDF will continue to operate at any distance against any threat to the state of Israel and its citizens. The Israeli airstrikes in Yemen followed airstrikes conducted by the United States the night before. U.S. Central Command said its forces conducted multiple precision strikes against 2 Iranian-backed Houthi underground advanced conventional weapons storage facilities within Houthi-controlled territories of Yemen on January the 8th. CENTCOM saying the Houthis used these facilities to conduct attacks against U.S. Navy warships and merchant vessels in the southern Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, and that the strikes are part of CENTCOM's effort to degrade Iranian-backed Houthi attempts to threaten regional partners and military and merchant vessels in the region. The U.S. House of Representatives passed legislation yesterday that would sanction officials of the International Criminal Court in The Hague or anyone who supports its efforts to prosecute Israeli leaders for war crimes. The bill passed 243 in favor, which included 45 Democrats, and 140 votes against. It will next be brought to the Senate for a vote. Representative Brian Mast, who spearheaded the bill alongside Representative Chip Roy, spoke on the Senate floor about why it was imperative to support these sanctions against the ICC as Israel continues to battle terror group Hamas in Gaza after its massacre on October the 7th.
Israel is the tip of the spear in bringing the fight to an enemy who currently holds and has killed our fellow Americans. Israel has conducted this war with as much restraint as war can allow. In the face of horror, they have showed humanity. We know that for Israel, any civilian dying is a tragedy. And we know that for Hamas and the Palestinians who support them, civilians dying is quite literally their strategy for victory.
A synagogue in Sydney was desecrated in just the latest anti-Semitic vandalism in Australia. Swastikas and other graffiti, including praise for Hitler, as well as the words Free Palestine, were discovered on the Hurstville Synagogue in southern Sydney yesterday. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese was cited telling a news conference that there was no place in Australia, our tolerant multicultural community, for this sort of criminal activity. Yesterday's attack follows an arson attack on a synagogue in Melbourne just over a month ago. The Anti-Defamation League writing, once again, we must condemn yet another anti-Semitic act against a synagogue in Australia. We continue to stand with the Jewish community in Australia as they face an onslaught of anti-Semitic hate. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Friday, January the 10th. Live Shabbat services are coming up at 6 o'clock from New York City's Central Synagogue, followed by Shabbat services from the Hampton Synagogue. At 8:30, Justin Pine speaks with Dr. Noam Wasserman on how to synthesize the Jewish and business approaches to life. At 9:30, Abigail Pogrebin speaks with Rabbi Dr. Shmuly Yanklowitz about his book, A Torah of Compassion. At 10, David Harris recaps the last year for Israel and the Jewish world and looks at all of Israel's challenges moving forward. At 10:30, a replay from the Hampton Synagogue, followed by a replay from Central. And coming up next, a look at this week's Torah Portion. And that's the JBS News Update for Friday, January the 10th, 2025. I'm Teisha Bader. Shabbat Shalom. Am Yisrael Chai.